So I'm going to bring up the feature guy here, Josh Fox. I met Josh, actually, I feel like I have known Josh for quite a long time, but I actually only met him in person when we were on the National Mall, when we were up against the Keystone XL pipeline, and we decided, you know what? President Obama hasn't come to Nebraska, South Dakota, or any of our states, so we're going to bring the fight to his backyard, where we put up teepees along the National Mall. We brought horses to ride through the streets of Washington, D.C., which I think terrified every member of Congress. But that is where I met Josh, because Josh, you know, he is an Academy Award winner. He has many, many accolades to his name. He, in case you didn't know, is the one who created Gasland, which put fracking on the consciousness of Americans and across the kind of globe. But Josh came to the Reject and Protect camp with his banjo and him. No entourage, no security, no flash. He just came to play and to be with the people. It's what I love most about Josh. He continues to give hell not only to politicians, but to the oil and fracking companies, and so it's an honor to have him here. Josh.
Thanks, Jane Club. One of my heroes. I got this awesome t-shirt here. You see this one? Progressive Nebraskans against the TPP. It's our next fight because we're going to win this one. So we're all neighbors. You know, I'm from a frontline community myself. If you've seen Gasland, you know what happened to me to bring me into this fight. The fracking industry showed up at my doorstep in 2008 and offered us $100,000 for our 20 acres to do this thing that nobody had ever heard of, called fracking. They were going all over the entire area in the Delaware River Basin, which is where the Delaware River is. It's a watershed for 16 million people in New York City, in southern New Jersey, and Philadelphia. Sound familiar? So that, I found that the oil company, of course, said, you know, it's just a fire hydrant in the middle of your field. It's going to be it's free money, just take it. You probably won't even know that we're here. Yeah, right. So I did a little research and found out that this project was started by a guy named Dick Cheney. Got a little suspicious. And did an investigation which took me all across the nation to 25 states. About 12 of them were featured in the film Gasland. And I did that out of the backseat of my 92 Toyota Camry. No funding, just as a community project, you know, for rooms like this, so that I could try to educate my community about what was happening in people's backyards all across America where they were being drilled and fracked. Because there were rumors that people could light their water on fire. There were rumors that their water ran with rainbow colors of chemicals and oil and gas and petroleum. And of course, the oil industry put out a multi-million-dollar campaign to say, of course, all that was untrue. So I wanted to find out for myself. And I found out way worse than that. You know, that the oil industry was not just contaminating people's water. It was not just polluting people's air. It was not just creating a health crisis for them and their children and destroying their soil and destroying their lands, but that their entire business model was based on a lie. That their entire business model was based on putting one over on everyone in their path. And that business model was something new to us, right, in the Delaware River Basin, in the corner of PA and New York State. But it wasn't new to people like in Nigeria or in the Amazon. And that we were now being treated in the United States the way they had treated for centuries, or more than a century, people in the third world. And that their policies were abusive, brutalizing, racist, and inhuman. And that came across in that film, and I got lucky. It got into Sundance Film Festival, went on HBO, nominated for the Oscar. You know, all these years later, seen by 50 million people in 30 countries, and has put me on the road for the last 8 years in rooms just like this, 450 cities all across the world. Because, to be honest, neighbor talking to neighbor, and this type of gathering, is more powerful than any corporate interest, is more powerful than any oil company, is more powerful than any pipeline. And I've seen that firsthand over and over and over again. When we organize, we win. When we say no, and we organize, and we put our bodies on the line, we win. And when we stand up for each other, we win. So I'm so proud of I was arrested during the Keystone XL battle, but we heard about Bold, Nebraska. We heard about the solar barn. We heard about Bold. We heard about what you were doing here and felt that this was an incredible alliance coast to coast to stop the fossil fuel industry, to make a huge issue of climate change in the media, and to talk about this not only from the perspective of what you consider maybe typical environmentalists, whoever they are, but people here in the Midwest and in the United States, where you don't normally think of this type of thing, people getting arrested in Iowa. You know, it's shocking. I'm so incredibly moved by what's happening at Standing Rock. And I was in Union Square with the group of kids who had run all the way from North Dakota. And it was just an unbelievable transformative experience. The energy that was created has gone across the United States, it's gone across the world. And it has changed the game on what we're doing in terms of trying to resist fossil fuels. It has changed the game in terms of what we're doing to try to stop fracking and tar sands oil. And it has shown the world that the fossil fuel industry has no moral standing anymore. That they are, the only words I can say them again, brutalizing, racist, and inhuman. The things that you're telling us about the arrests are mind-boggling. The photographs and the things that I've witnessed, you know, people being put in stress positions, dog kennels, being beaten, being pepper sprayed, being maced, hooded, and waterboarded, like we learned of in Abu Ghraib. The shame that we, as Americans, of that torture campaign that happened in Iraq and in Afghanistan, now happening here. That the state of North Dakota is at war. The illegitimate government of North Dakota at war with the sovereign nation of Standing Rock. We're like witnessing the last 400 years play itself out again right now. It's on every one of us to stand up and say, this is insane. This is not who we are as Americans. Because truthfully, I do believe in America. My father wasn't born in America. You know, I was born in New York City. I was adopted, actually, by the Blood Tribe in Canada, southern Alberta. They gave me the name He Who Survives because my father's a Holocaust survivor. And because we wanted to talk about what it meant to survive the fossil fuel industry, because their entire reservation had been leased out to fracking. So I always view America as this new place, in a weird sort of way, you know, that my family doesn't have a lot of ties to. And when you learn that history, similar to the history of my ancestors who were killed by the Nazis, when you learn that history, it is almost as if you see it as a foreign country doing something in a way that's impossible to imagine. But then there's this other America, which is the America of the Bill of Rights, the America of equal rights, the America of democracy, the America of human rights, the America of an incredible culture that brings us the movements that we have now. And that is something I think we have to earn over and over again. It's not the America of smallpox blankets and manifest destiny and genocide. But we see this contradiction being played out every single day of our lives. You know? The manifest destiny in Iraq or in Afghanistan or in Yemen or in Standing Rock versus the civil disobedience of Henry David Thoreau and Martin Luther King. This is where we stand right now. You're on one side of it or the other. And it is totally unacceptable to be standing in the middle and going, oh, both sides are equal. That's nonsense. So I'm ashamed right now of our leadership for not coming forward. The only person who I've seen come forward is Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And that's why I was a proud Bernie Sanders surrogate. That's where I met Jane. We both work with Our Revolution. But to be honest, you know, if you're not standing up right now and standing with Standing Rock, then you're on the side of the oil companies, and you're on the wrong side of history.
That's right.
There's no question. Now, we beat the oil industry in the Upper Delaware River Basin. We won. We won, and you'll see that in the very beginning of this film. The film starts with a bit of a victory dance. But what I learned was that we can beat the fossil fuel industry in our own backyard, but we can still lose everything to climate change. And climate change, you'll see from the film that's coming, which is the third film in this series. The first one about contamination due to fracking. The second one about the contamination of our government, right, that the fracking industry has wrought. Gasland Part 2. And this film about climate change. And that we're so close to the edge that we have to act now. And that it is the fight at Standing Rock that is the only thing that stands a chance of keeping our major cities on the eastern seaboard above water. James Hansen, you know, the grandfather of the climate movement, who testified in Congress from NASA in 1988, he called the tar sands game over for the planet. Fracking, game over for the planet. We simply cannot develop new fossil fuels, period. Because you'll see from the film how close we are to losing our coastlines. New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Washington, D.C., Providence, Miami, New Orleans, Charlotte, Berkeley, Oakland. So when you guys are up there fighting against this pipeline, which we're going to join you tomorrow, you're fighting for everyone across this United States. Because you're fighting to keep Brooklyn above water. You're fighting to keep Philadelphia above water. We know that. And that's why it's not just about where you are. And this is why this stand has become an international rallying cry. It is about all of us that we're fighting. Because, you know, I'll tell you something funny. I walked into the theater today, so silly, and I saw the Stop the Pipeline t-shirts. I said, oh, which pipeline? You know what I'm saying? Because I've been to 85 cities across the United States in the last 9 months. We've toured this film. Yes, it went on HBO, and millions of people saw it, but the most important context to show this film is in this one like this, for me, to you. 85 cities across America and the UK, everyone is fighting a pipeline. Everyone is fighting a pipeline. Whether it's the Dakota Access Pipeline here, or the Sable Trail Pipeline in Florida, or the AIM Pipeline, or the Pilgrim Pipeline, or the offensively named Algonquin Pipeline expansion, or the Tennessee Pipeline, the Millennium Pipeline, the Constitution Pipeline, which is right next to the Bill of Rights waste pit, the Ned Pipeline, the Penn East Pipeline. I could go on and on and on and on. Because this government wants to transition us to frack gas instead of to renewable energy, and that cannot stand. These pipeline battles are going to intensify, and we have to win. But, you know, I want to do one thing because they did ask me to play the banjo. I'm going to do it in a weird way. I was thinking about this, about the song I was going to play, and I want it to pertain to the America that we are trying to fight for. The America of egalitarianism and human rights, and not the one of the wars and the abuses. But this is a story about the last time I saw Pete Seeger. By the way, you see that signature, that's Bernie Sanders. But the last, you know Pete Seeger, right? Everybody's like, yeah, I remember. So Pete was asked by the fracking movement to come to this tiny little town in Milford, Pennsylvania. Because the fracking movement in the Delaware River Basin was fighting, and they were getting tired. And they were getting exhausted. And they were getting worn out. And they said, Pete, will you please come and play a show for us? It was a room smaller than this, a couple hundred people. And Pete said, yes, I'll be there, as he always did if he could, right? And so they called me up and asked me to introduce him. And I thought, oh boy, okay, I could try that, you know? And, you know, I learned a lot of things from Pete Seeger over the years. So I got to the theater. And it was a 100-year-old theater with a 93-year-old Pete Seeger. And I had this thought that I wanted to play, maybe a little intro. I had this very particular song that I had learned. I felt like, I want to play this. But I didn't know if it was going to be okay. Just kind of like in the way that I don't feel like it's going to be okay right now. And so I went to Pete and I said, I have this very particular song I want to play. Is this okay? And he says to me, you know, that was the greatest hit song of 1814. Like he was there. You know? He said, a fella sang that song in a bar one night, and it was such a big hit, he had to sing it twice. I guess in those days you didn't have any recordings, right? So you had to sing it again if you wanted to hear it again. And then, clip clop, at 4 miles an hour, that song became went up and down the coast, East Coast, and became the most popular song in the United States of America. And I said, I didn't know that. And I knew there was a lesson in there, you know? So I'm going to play it now. And you tell me if you can figure out what it is, okay? You got this? Got it? Sorry, I'm struggling there a little bit. So you know what I'm talking about. Star Spangled Banner, adopted as our national anthem in the 30s. And I knew there was a lesson in there, right? I knew that, I learned a lot of things from Pete Seeger over the years. Like, if you want to protect water upstate, get New York City involved downstream, downriver. That's what he did by sailing the Clearwater up and down the Hudson. He told us, upstate is connected to downstate, all water is connected. You got to fight for the water. And I learned also, if you want to talk about politics, art and culture is a great place to start. But this lesson I got straight up close, you know. And of course it was, be careful what you do in a bar. You might start a nation. No, I'm kidding. The lesson was, if a bar song can become the United States of America, national anthem, then we're all just making up America as we go along. And anything is possible. Anything is possible. And it's a new day. So right there in that room, he's challenging the fracking movement to say, you have to write the next great song. You have to write the next great piece of this movement. You have to write the next great story that 200 years from now, people are going to find meaningful. That's what we have to do here now. This country is not about oil companies. This country is not about the 1%. And it's up to us to make sure that we stop that we stop the pipeline here. They called me yesterday and said they're getting dangerously close to that river. I said, but you know what? We're going to Iowa. If you stop the pipeline here, it won't matter what they do there. You are the last line of defense here. You understand? We have to fight this from North Dakota to Iowa to Illinois, all across the United States. So don't think that you're not important. Your arrests are going to get paid attention to. And it's on us right now to make up a new America, just as we did as we watched this incredible political movement get its teeth all summer long throughout that moment when we're all invested in the political revolution. That's what we're here to do. That's what I think the people in this film embody. And I thank you so much for having me here today. I really, really, really applaud you for coming out, and we're going to fight together, stand side by side. Jane said this is just a good beginning, and I agree with that. So thank you so much for being in part of this struggle. And I think you'll find a lot of family members in this movie that you're about to watch here tonight from all over the world. We're all in it together. Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy How to Let Go of the World and Love All the Things Climate Can't Change.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Jane. Traditionally, when we have somebody come and visit us for the first time, we present them with a gift. And Jane, you should come up here too. So we wanted to call Josh up here and
Aaron.
and Aaron. Sorry, Aaron. Thank you. I'm gonna put this on Aaron. You guys come and stand up here, please. If you could turn around. Shirts that we wanted to present to them right now, they say water protector on the front and land defender on the back. So these guys are doing a great job, water protectors and land defenders. And just want to, express our gratitude, for the work that you do for all people and all of humanity. It's really important that we remember that the issues that we're facing are not just issues in our own homelands, our own territories, but it's a global, and it's not, what's going on in Standing Rock is not just a Native issue, it's a human rights issue, and it affects every one of us. So just wanted to say thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. You're welcome.